back to Sensibly Loud Radio. It's your main man, J-Mac, here on this beautiful Wednesday evening. I'm here with B-Eazy. Brandon, what's
Hey,
going on,
Justin,
man?
how's it going, man?
Doing well, man. Good to be back. We were off last week, and it was weird not doing radio. It feels like we did, well, it was kind of a week off for a lot of shows. Just Peachy was off last week, too, but it still just feels like it's forever since we've been in the studio.
It's it's been that time of the year where people take off for vacation, things of that nature. So I think we had a lot of catching up to do content-wise on the website. So that's been running on all cylinders, and man, it's good to be back.
It really is, man. We had a lot of that stuff to do, and we are, in the development of a couple of new things as well. And there's just a lot going on that kind of, now that we're done with some of the bigger picture stuff, we're able to actually concentrate on a lot more consistent content and a lot better content overall. So it's an exciting time, and it's been a hell of a week. I was telling you yesterday that it feels like Tech was just in the national championship game 2 months ago, and it was like a week and just a little bit of change now ago. It's crazy,
man. A lot of things happening with sports too. I think that's another reason for it. Tiger came back and won the Masters. You had the end of the Final Four tournament with the NCAA championship. I mean, it's just nonstop.
Yep, dude. The thing about Tiger, I said this on Twitter. I admittedly said that he would never win another major again. So I'm really and I'm glad to be wrong. I'm glad to see that he was able to do it. I fucking love Tiger. Dude, can you believe that the whole incident where he, got into the fight with his wife about cheating, all that and ran over the fire hydrant was 10 years ago?
That's crazy.
I know. It was great to listen to all the guys at Augusta talk about how much Tiger has overcome. It made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. I mean, it was kind of interesting to see his kids there and all that stuff compared to, what was it, the first time he won it, his dad was there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where, whenever he kind of went and hugged his son, that's exactly where he hugged his dad back in the day. No, that part of it is amazing. I'm pulling for Tiger always. Tiger's my favorite golfer of all time, and it's not even close. But I thought it was great to see him get to live that out for his kids, because they've never seen that Tiger Woods before.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really awesome. Big things in sports are going on. I think the craziest part about it is just that there's so much lag time after the Super Bowl. We were dead for a month until this tournament started, and then everything kicked into overdrive at one time again. And here we are, midst playoff hockey. You and I've been watching. You're watching the Stars game right now. I'm watching the Bruins game right now. It just doesn't stop.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and some great playoff hockey yesterday, too. While I got to sit in with you guys recording in studio for the On the Break episode for the playoff edition with playoff basketball. So, yeah, it's all over the place.
It really is. And that's a whole other thing, too. We were talking about that yesterday. It's really refreshing for me not to have to listen to talk about LeBron in any way.
Yeah.
Just a little bit,
Yeah. I mean, did you guys talk a little bit about Magic Johnson, the comments he made?
Oh, dude, a little bit. Yeah, we talked about that in the episode before, but man, what do you think of that whole
thing's
thing?
A mess. I listened to a little bit of it, but the fact that he starts out, gave his whole press conference yeah, I'm going to resign from my position because he was, president of,
Yeah, president of basketball operations, which doesn't actually mean anything.
It's just the guy to clap his hands and just, be like, hey, good job, whatever. And go talk to the players and be like, back in my day, I did this. So, yeah, it was interesting listening to him go up there, and then he begins and goes into a totally off-the-wall approach on it, just saying how, oh, well, we had this big meeting, and they're talking about next year, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to be here next year.
Dude, unbelievable,
Didn't
right?
even tell his boss that he was going to quit. So no one knew he was going to quit until he came out and said that at the press conference. Yeah.
Yeah. If any of you did that to me, I would absolutely slander every one of every one of you on the blog for months. I would never let it go.
Exactly. Plus,
I'd be pissed.
well, and on top of that, I mean, then he starts talking about I talked to Serena Williams and Serena's like, hey, I need your mentorship and this and that, and people on other basketball players and other teams, and he's like, I can't do that. I can't go to Twitter and talk the way I want to talk and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, because you're an employee of the freaking Lakers, man.
Of
Yeah,
another team, of the team that you played for and represent all the way around. Like, it's crazy, man. And it feels like he so this has been a pretty interesting trend because nobody like this has worked out very well. So like Phil Jackson running the Knicks, for example, it was an unmitigated disaster. And I've said it for years. I think Phil Jackson was a very overrated coach. I think whenever you start coaching MJ and Shaq, things get pretty easy. I mean, come on. And so I think people are kind of seeing that with the way that Phil Jackson ran the Knicks into the ground. And so I think that the Lakers hired Magic with the right intentions, and I'm sure he took the job with the right intentions. But the problem ends up being that Magic never really wants to do the work on anything. He just likes the limelight. He likes to be out there smiling and be the mentor. And he's a great businessman. Magic Johnson's a great dude in a lot of ways. And part of being Magic Johnson is just being able to be Magic Johnson. Do you remember the show that he had very briefly a long time ago? It was called the Magic Hour or something like that. He quit that within like 3 months because he was like, oh, I actually have to do things. I mean, could you really imagine Magic Johnson in the off season in those gyms in Lithuania watching your future Luka Doncic playing? I don't fucking think so.
No, he's just like anything else. He's I always kind of saw him as like a Michael Irvin. He's all personality, and then on top of that, he's got bit of a shady past with getting out of situations and court cases, and how it goes with personalities. So yeah, personalities and money.
Dude, which obviously caused me to reflect on the Donald Sterling clip of him saying, "What has Magic Johnson ever done?" And then he just responds to his own question real fast and just says, "He's got AIDS."
Yeah, that
gets me every single time, dude.
His face on all Burger Kings. What was that, a decade ago?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, man, that's a wild situation. I love it though. The question that we've been pondering on the basketball show is this good for the Lakers or is it bad? It's really kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, I think ultimately it's going to be good because they're going to be able to just move forward and build their own chapter as opposed to having to reflect on the past, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Well, and Magic clearly wanted to like tamper, basically. Like he wanted to go talk to other players on other teams. And now he can do that openly. Not that he wasn't doing it openly when he was with the Lakers, but he's doing it now. He can do it all he wants.
Yep.
Free range. It's the perfect job, in which case it may be helpful for them. So I don't know. It's a double-headed coin there, I would say, but this summer's got some big implications for the future of the Lakers and LeBron's legacy. So they better do this right.
Yeah.
But they won't because they're the Lakers. They'll either we talked about this the other night, I think. If they hired Becky Hammonds, who's like an assistant for the Spurs, as the first female coach, that'd be huge. That'd be absolutely amazing. That'd be a good move. She's probably a year away from being like ready, just like any other assistant would be, but that'd be a good move. And it would buy them a lot of PR. The problem is that LeBron would just dash it all to hell.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And then it would look like, oh, well, he doesn't want to play for a woman. And it just gets to be this whole bit mess because that's exactly what would happen, which is ridiculous. She's incredibly qualified.
Yeah, I don't see LeBron taking orders from a woman. So, yep.
I don't know. I don't think it's that. I just don't think he wants to be coached at all.
Oh, no, not at all. He wants to be the coach,
Right. I don't think it has to do with gender at all. I think that he just doesn't want to be coached. And that's fine. I love that they're thinking about hiring the coach from Cleveland, Tyronn Lue. That is so funny. But we don't want to get too much into basketball back and forth. But there's just a whole we always talk about the Lake Show and how, oh, yeah, well, it's the Hollywood scene in Lakerland and everything like that. It's a clown party. Definitely is a clown party.
Absolutely, man.
So I'm fine with it. Just not exactly the show that they're hoping for, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but there's been some other big things going on as well. I mean, that is sports related. I definitely want to bring up. Dirk Nowitzki had his final game as Dallas Maverick. 21 seasons. The guy was amazing.
Crazy, dude. Good for him. We talked about this throughout the year, I think. I thought that it was going to be his last go round. It felt that way. It would have been really awkward if it wasn't.
You think he'll end up in the organization doing something?
Yeah, they've already talked about it. That's going to happen. He'll be back with them next year. It's going to be as if he didn't leave. He's just not in uniform anymore.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, it's there's been a lot of that stuff out there right now as far as retirement. Dwayne Wade retired as well. Yeah, lots of big stuff in sports. Lots of kind of just general sports news. Not a lot of just like entertainment news going around right now. It seems like, right?
Really not too much entertainment news. I mean, there's been a few things that have happened. We've had a couple music festivals that have occurred over this past weekend. Coachella occurred, so we'll get into that here in a little bit. Another thing is we just have a lot of movies coming up, like John Wick 3 comes out next month. Definitely psyched to see that.
Yeah.
And there's been a few other things announced. Had Star Wars Celebration, so new Star Wars trailer. The Mandalorian, that's another show from Star Wars that's going to be coming out that I hear is supposed to be very intense, kind of like a Westworld take, like an R-rated take on Star Wars. So that might be interesting.
Yep. Interesting.
But yeah, is there anything that's caught your eye recently?
Dude, I feel like all my efforts have been working on this new show that Jason and I have been working on. So have we talked about this on radio yet?
Not just yet. So let's hear it.
Well, fuck yeah. We're just going to do it. That's what we do. I wasn't really, we're going to do an official rollout on it and everything, but Jason and I have collapsed the football show entirely. And a couple of reasons for that. It's, I really liked what we did with the football show. It was a quick 30-minute hit every week where we talked about the previous games and the upcoming games and everything. It wasn't too in depth, but it was still had some meat on the bone with it. But ultimately, it didn't leave room for us to really talk about bigger stories. And I think you tell me, one of the things I love about Jason is that he'll be quick to argue the point on the other side. Don't you think?
Jason always has a good counterpoint argument for everything.
Yeah. And I feel like as one of the more centered people at this place, I like to engage in those discussions with him. And we do that pretty often. Like we have pretty deep conversations about deep sports things and whatnot. And just like, all these different things that are happening, and not just in football, but around all sports. And it really just didn't have a place on the football show specifically. So what we decided to do is make a new show. We're going to call it Perpetually Correct. And it's going to drop here in the next couple of weeks. And essentially what it's going to be is just like a sports variety show. And we're going to talk about everything that's kind of going on right now, because we have just this revolving door of sports all year long for the most part. And, we've been running test episodes and stuff. We talked about the NHL playoffs. We talked about, the NBA playoffs. And we're just going to kind of follow that. And whenever football gets here, we'll talk about football on that show, and we'll probably go a little bit deeper there and kind of just morph it into that. But I think it's going to be kind of an overall good variety show.
That's awesome, man. I mean, and as the playoffs go on, win or lose, if the Stars don't even advance, like I always see the NHL playoffs to the end. So I'd love to guest on the show if you guys talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing too, is we don't have we have Duster Dan, who occasionally blogs about hockey and stuff, but we don't really have that arm here too much yet. And I would anticipate that comes later on. But in the meantime, this is a great avenue for us to be able to talk about it. And, whatever, it's a big thing. And everything else that's going on. We talked about the Magic Johnson story last week. There's a lot of different stuff. And I think the goal would be to try to maybe do 2 of those a week. We'll just have to see how that plays out. But definitely at least 1 a week. And like I said, unfortunately, that's rest in peace to Between the Hashes. But I think this gives us a better idea of what we can bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing about the NFL season. It's always, pretty short. There's only so many games, but 2, I mean, there's so much more to football to talk about. Like you have the American Football League. You have Vince McMahon's new, resurgence for the XFL,
dude. Dude, we're gonna be all in on the XFL. We're fucking go. I'm gonna paint my body for it.
We're supposed to have an XFL team, right? The Dallas,
yeah, that's what I'm saying. We're going all in. Okay. This is already happening. We're already putting down money for season tickets.
Where
Jason
are they playing?
They're going to play at the old ballpark.
Oh man.
Yeah, Jason already put down a $50 deposit on XFL season tickets. Yeah, there's no way they're not gonna be like $17. Oh, yeah. I mean, they're gonna be super cheap. It's gonna die in a year. We gotta ride it. We gotta ride the wave.
Did you watch see, I know you probably watched the XFL when it was on originally, right?
Oh yeah.
What did you think about, how they started the game? Like they had like one player from each side, and they had to run out to the 50-yard line, and they pretty much had to battle for the ball, and whoever like got the ball. Yeah.
Dude, yes. The worst. So yeah, they had each team's fastest player went and lined up, and then that's how they decided. The worst probably omen for the league was whenever they did that on the very first game of the XFL, for his ACL right out of the chute. Like literally run, like they blew the whistle or whatever for you to run towards the football in the very beginning of the game, and he fucking tore an ACL right off the box. That should have been an omen for where we were headed.
Yeah, that would happen.
Dude, and then there were just so many things. Like, did you watch the ESPN 30 for 30 on that?
Oh, yeah.
Dude, the fact that the gas generators ran out of gas for the actual television broadcast is just insane to me.
Yeah, that's really insane.
Yeah, that's really insane.
Do we need to pause?
No, keep going.
No, keep going.
We're having, I guess, technical issues here for a second. Awesome, right? Right when we're going the air live.
The beauty of it.
It's fine.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, you gotta love the home studio, right? We always talk about the studio, but we're working out of the house today.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, but anyway, so I think like it's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be a great new show. I'm excited for it.
Definitely, dude.
We're gonna be covering the XFL and all that stuff on it. I'm really, really pumped. So, what else has been going on, man? What have you been watching?
Oh, other than sports playoffs, like
other than
sports
hockey playoffs, such as hockey and everything.
I've been watching.
I've been watching.
Been catching back up on.
Been catching back up on
shows.
A few TV shows.
A couple movies.
Okay.
A couple movies.
Yeah. What have you been? Any of those? Has anything like stood out to you or anything like that?
As far as movies, obviously I watched Green Book. Obviously, I had the girlfriend over the weekend and ended up watching. I watched Masterminds. I've never seen that before. Had Zach Galifianakis and Owen Wilson, and I didn't know it was based on a true story. It's supposed to be like the biggest cash heist ever in history of the U.S. Yeah,
really.
And so I think he stole something like $7 million or maybe it was $17 million in cash, but. It's this guy who worked at like Loomis Armored, and this took place back in like I think the mid to late 90s, and in Florida, and got duped by some girl like trying to like seduce him and basically turn him on to the idea of stealing all this cash for this mysterious shadowy figure played by Owen Wilson. So yeah, they made it a big comedy, and it was pretty funny. So yeah, watched that. Watched a few other movies as well. There was one movie I watched called I Can Only Imagine, which is by the lead singer of Mercy Me, which is a Christian rock band. And so I didn't really know how big of a movie this was. I thought it was like a straight to stream release, but it was something that was produced and made had a pretty big production, and they had Dennis Quaid, who played his father, and basically it's about the lead singer in his life and what led to him writing that song I Can Only Imagine, which was a big hit. And there was a lot of stuff to it, and that his father was abusive, but Dennis Quaid played his father, was just lights out acting. I thought it was going to be like a Lifetime movie, but it was actually really good.
I can't believe I haven't really heard of this. I'm surprised it slipped past our radar.
Well, I mean, most Christian movies, they get released. They don't really have too much of a staying power in theaters. And, a lot of times they just go to independent theaters and then like Angelica and then drop out to Amazon Prime pretty quickly. This one apparently stayed in theaters for a little while. But, yeah, so that was pretty good. Other than that, what's up?
Shit. Hold the phone. I'm on Dennis Quaid's IMDb page. He's about to play Ronald Reagan in a movie.
Man.
My God. Unbelievable.
That should be interesting.
I can't even imagine that.
He has aged a bit, but yeah, that should be interesting. He's got the, he's got that that positivity to him. Like he's got that sort of spunk in his step. So I could see him pulling that off.
Dude, it says it's in pre-production right now, so that they must be just getting ready to film it then, right? Interesting. So I honestly didn't know he was still like around in any way, shape, or form.
I've seen him in a few random stuff over the last 5-10 years.
I couldn't tell you the last thing I saw him in. What was the baseball movie he was in?
The baseball movie.
Not the Rookie. The
oh God, I remember the Rookie.
Hold on.
You talk about the one where he's a pitcher?
Yeah. No, the Rookie. Yeah. The Rookie. Yeah. That movie is a classic Disney movie that's 17 hours way too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It just goes and goes and goes.
It was really good. Let's see. Looking at the list, the one movie that stands out to me that I remember seeing him in last was probably Pandorum. Did you ever see that?
No, what is that?
2009. I mean, yeah, Metacritic, whatever. They give it like a 28. I mean, on IMDb, it's got a 6.8 out of 10. I'd say it's probably more on par for like a 7.5, but it's kind of like a sci-fi psychological horror type thing. And it's about, this group, this colony that's left Earth going to this other planet that's supposed to be like Earth 2. And a couple different of the crew members wake up from cryo sleep because something happens with their incubator machine. And so they wake up, and Dennis Quaid wakes up with them. He's supposed to be the captain or something, and he starts freaking out, going psycho. So it's really good because there's all of a sudden there's these creatures that have taken over the ship, and they're all freaking out. But yeah, Dennis Quaid's in it. Ben Foster is in it. Gives a really good performance. Really good sort of a sci-fi thriller.
So let me clear up something. If I'm going to Earth 2, I'm going to have to deal with Dennis Quaid and not Randy Quaid. That's a problem.
Well, but have you seen what Randy Quaid's been up to lately?
Well, yeah, I'm well aware of Canada's own Randy Quaid is up to, fleeing the country and not paying his taxes and all of that. Very well aware, but he's still the funnier Quaid.
Yeah, he's the funnier Quaid, but he doesn't look the same anymore.
Oh yeah, no, I've seen this. I've seen the picture with the beard and the long. Yeah, I don't really care about that though. He's still Cousin Eddie. I mean, with the white shoes and all. But Earth 2, I've got to deal with the lesser Quaid. That's
you got to love
upsetting.
Cousin Eddie and the National Lampoon films.
Oh, of course, dude. With the white shoes and everything. That's what I'm saying.
Anything I do for you, Eddie?
No, I'm doing just fine, Clark.
Get you some more eggnog, drive out in the middle of nowhere, leave you for dead.
No. Literally the first thing that I texted my little sister this morning is, I'm just going to catch it in a coat and smack it with a hammer.
Nice.
She texted me back and just said, "Where's Eddie? He usually eats these damn things."
Oh, yeah.
Shout out Mary.
Gotta love
good
that.
stuff. But yeah, interesting. I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know that Dennis Quaid was still popping around. So something that we started watching this past week, we're only 2 episodes into it, but we need to finish it. It's a show called Murder Mountain on Netflix. Have you heard about this?
What's it about?
So essentially, it's about this place in California, way northern California, where all these it's like this place where 85% of illegal marijuana is grown that's distributed to the whole United States. And it's about this like backwoods bunch of vandals that have basically just taken the law into their own hands to the point where the police are scared to go into their like area, which is quote unquote Murder Mountain, and all these people go in there and fucking disappear and stuff. And nobody ever really knows what happens to them, but they're out in the middle of nowhere and all these dangerous conditions and stuff. So it's like, I mean, you put yourself in that harm's way, and all this, and you're working with drugs, that are essentially illegal, and it gets to be this whole thing. And so it's about this all these disappearances and people trying to investigate exactly how this happened or where these people are at. It's pretty crazy, man. Yeah, definitely worth checking out so far. A couple of my buddies have absolutely raved about it for a while. So I saw something about it like on Friday, and by Sunday I was already checking it out because I've heard several.
There's been a lot of stuff coming out. I don't know if you've noticed that the last 5 years or so. I'm, probably going back to How to Make a Murder, or not How to Make a Murder, but what I'm talking about.
How to Get Away with Murder.
It's hard to keep up with.
No, you're thinking of Making a Murder.
Whatever the hell. The guy's innocent. It's on Netflix. It's on Amazon. It's in your face. I mean, there's so many different titles of shows, and you got stuff on Discovery. You got fictional stuff on the basic channels, and now it seems like there's a lot more stuff coming out in terms of disappearances, investigations, and I feel like things are turning back towards unsolved mysteries. I'd like to see unsolved mysteries come back.
It is coming back, or it's been back, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, there's some new version of it out there. Look that up real quick.
Well, the last thing I heard that they were bringing back and is already brought back is the Twilight Zone, which has Jordan Peele hosting it, that's pretty good. But as far as unsolved mysteries, originally the host was Robert Stack. Scariest theme song in the world, probably. Scared the hell out of me as a kid.
Probably, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It is terrifying.
But after that, I think, Dennis Farina ended up hosting it. They brought it back in 2008.
Oh, yeah. Ray Bones?
The one and only.
Dude, Ray Barboni from Miami? That's a Get Shorty reference, man.
Sadly, Okay.
Dude, what?
Oh, I was just going to say,
go ahead.
Sadly, he passed away in 2013. I found out recently.
2013. I knew it was relatively within the last probably 10 years. I honestly thought it was a little bit longer ago than
what were
that.
You going to say about
though? What do you like about, or do you remember Get Shorty much?
Shorty, but my favorite film that he was in was Snatch. Cousin Evie.
Oh, he was in Snatch, wasn't he? Yeah. He sure was, dude. I don't know, though. Get Shorty is a classic for me. It is a movie I absolutely grew up on.
That's a great one, too.
Danny DeVito's incredible in that movie, too. Did we talk about ranking Danny DeVito movies?
No.
I feel like we did.
I don't know if we did. We definitely brought up, we've had a few Danny DeVito moments, that's for sure.
Yeah. No, we definitely talked about it, because didn't we talk about how nobody ever has hated Danny DeVito?
It was about 3 episodes ago, I believe. We brought up Danny DeVito and just talked about some of our favorite movies. We didn't really rank them per se. We talked about him, and we talked about a few other actors as well.
Yeah, I would say that's a top 5 Danny DeVito movie. A lot of people don't know about that movie, though. Get Shorty. Be Cool was an incredible sequel. You can't. It's really more of like an offshoot, but that movie is so funny.
Up in that was Vince Vaughn.
Dude, Vince Vaughn's great. Andre 3000 is great in that movie. Dabu. The Rock. Yeah, dude, so many things. The Rock is incredible in that movie because that's before he's like.
Yeah, that's a highly underrated movie. I need to go back and watch.
Dude, I have seen that movie no less than 100 times. You can ask Claire. She's sick of this movie. She's seen it so many times. Because it's one of those that I can put on in the background and just not really pay attention to. And just, dude, listening to Vince Vaughn is so funny.
Yeah, because he's doing like kind of an Eminem impression, but just going off the rails with it.
Oh, dude, a really bad
one. So speaking of top 10, our buddy Kyle Beats posted something, and man, I enjoy Kyle. That was great having him on episode 25 with us. I definitely want to get him back on again, as well as the great Sambino. But yeah, he posted it on our website, which you listeners out there haven't checked it out yet. He's posting a top 10 series, and one of the most recent posts he gave was top 10 comedians.
Dude, all these top 10 blogs have been amazing.
Yeah.
All of them. I disagree with some of them.
The rappers?
Oh yeah, dude. Do you want to break that down real fast
Sure.
before we talk about this?
Let's do
Let's
that.
do that real quick. I don't even know why I asked. That's what we're doing. Hold on, find this. Okay, so this was the top hip hop albums of the 2000s. So I will tell, I will say that this is not exactly my wheelhouse of rap. I didn't really, I was pretty into heavier rock and stuff like that around the time that like Lil Jon and stuff like that was really a popular thing. And so I was a little bit away from rap, but I love 90s rap and I love current like Atlanta rap and stuff like that. We could talk all day about that. We've talked about it before, but so this isn't exactly my wheelhouse, but some of these are unbelievable. Like Jay-Z. What do you have an opinion on Jay-Z?
You know, JC was definitely, I would say he's an entrepreneur that, he kind of like bridged 90s rap into 2000 rap. But as far as like what he does nowadays, it's all just about, rapping about the luxury life and the brand and stuff. And that's all it is now.
It's really weird, dude. It's like rapping about selling real estate. It's not really hard rap anymore. It's So I've never really liked him that much to begin with. There's something about maybe he's a New York rapper. Maybe it's just that there's just a connection that a lot of people make with him that I don't. And it's one of those things I want to like him. And there's songs of his I like, but not most of them.
And here's the thing. I don't know much about him in terms of if he produces his own stuff or any of that.
Yeah,
he does. Okay,
he does. Yeah,
I don't know. It just seems like as far as musical sensibility, comparing him to like, Outkast or Kanye or who else does he have on this list? Okay, so these are so these are albums. These aren't necessarily Gotcha.
Rappers, yeah, but I'm just talking about them in general.
But comparing him to like Dre, like there's no comparison.
Yeah. No, the other morning I posted that I was listening to The Chronic, and that album came out in like '92, and that album still holds up,
game changer,
just as strong today as it ever has. It is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely transcendent. So there were things like that I disagreed on, but he had a couple of Kanye albums on here, College Dropout, Late Registration. Both of those I absolutely agree with. The Stankonia. So Stankonia was great. Outkast was never my jam as much for some reason. I like Outkast just fine. I just talked about how I love Andre 3000, but for whatever reason, I never connected with Outkast as much as a lot of people. I still like it just fine. It's a good album. I see why it's here, and I don't disagree with it necessarily. Wouldn't be in mine, but I get it. The only other thing I saw in here that I really disagreed with is that he called Lil Wayne the Carter 2 in the top albums. I would say it was the Carter 3, man, because like the Carter 3 was absolutely groundbreaking. That had like some absolute bangers on that album. I'm pulling it up right now.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. It's like everything is subjective. What's the age difference between you and Kyle?
A few years.
He's a little bit younger than us, and that kind of reflects and it shows with his choices here.
That's true. A Millie was on that album. Got Money was on that album. Mr. Carter, Mrs. Officer was awesome. Lollipop was amazing. Dude, this whole album goes straight, top to bottom, amazing. I like the Carter 2 as well, but I just didn't think that it belonged in that list. But let's talk about these comedians real quick.
Well, before we get to that real quick, I noticed that his honorable mentions, he put the Marshall Mathers LP, but it didn't make the top 10.
I didn't notice that, actually.
Agree or disagree with that?
Dude, I would disagree with that. Would you say the Slim Shady LP was more groundbreaking? I would.
Put him on the map, but I think overall Marshall Mathers LP has more of a staying power.
Yeah, the real Slim Shady was pretty hard to deny. My Name was huge, though, on the Slim Shady.
What has the most depth and the most, what gets your blood going?
For sure, man. I think, yeah, then I
Yeah.
would say the Marshall
That's
Mathers
usually what
LP
comes
was.
down. But anyways, yeah, I saw that real quick. And I was like, it's
I didn't
interesting
even
to put
notice
it in the
that.
honorable mentions. Anyways, let's move on to
Yeah.
comedians.
Dude, I can't believe he didn't have Flint Biscuit, chocolate starfish,
God.
and hot dog flavored water.
Fuck that guy.
Dude, what did you ever get into the metal rap
No.
thing for a second?
You know,
No?
when Kid Rock came out, I was kind of like, okay, that's interesting. But then after like the second time I heard it, I was like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Kind of like another band.
I liked Limp Bizkit a lot.
Kind of like another
Do
band
what?
that was popular at that time. Yeah.
Oh, Smash Mouth? Well, fuck those guys. Fuck those guys. I feel like though that it was just a really weird crux of music where like rap was popular and rock was popular and we couldn't really make that distinction. So then Fred Durst like burst onto the scene and like there's some bangers on the Chocolate Starfish album if you go back and listen to it that's actually just hard rock stuff. Like remember when they did the Mission Impossible theme? That was the most badass theme they ever did for that movie.
That was awesome. And two, you know, it's just like, their music was great. The guitar was great. It's just as soon as Fred Durst opened his mouth, I was like, and I'm done.
Dude, yeah. It's pretty bad. It was really bad.
Guest was Stained, and they were performing that
when they did the other side.
And they starts performing and you know, like the song's going great, and he's just like, oh, hell, come on, y'all. It's like, shut the fuck up, man.
Oh, dude, yes. Dude, what the hell happened to Aaron Lewis? How did he end up as a country star?
So he's a country star, but he's going back through and he's performing like his whole catalog. And this happened recently. He's been touring some like clubs that fit maybe like 2,000 people or something, but they're selling pretty good. And wish I had brought a audio clip here, but anyways, he performed recently somewhere like a month ago and was telling people to shut the hell up. He was trying to play like his last two songs on his set, and people were just talking in the crowd, and he was just like, I'm not going to play if you guys don't shut the fuck up. And
what a diva! Just play
again, and then they wouldn't shut him. He's like, okay, I'm done. See you guys, and they start booing him.
Wow, good for them, booing their dicks off at him. I love it, as they should be. But like, dude, Stained was awesome. Did you ever like Stained?
Yeah, I like Stained.
Dude, Stained around like 14 Shades of Grey. The album before that, though, was Break the Cycle. Was an incredible album.
Yeah.
And they kind of tailed off there at the end. But, I don't know. I only recently found out that he's doing like country music now. I saw him one time at Nokia Live. If you remember that place. Is that like Verizon now? Is that what that is?
Interesting you brought that up. It changed to Verizon. It was Verizon for a while. And now it's just called... I think it's just called Live Theater. Like, that's all it's called now. I got some email from them the other day.
Interesting.
Like, who is this?
Yeah, interesting. Well, it was Nokia Live at that time. And it was literally him and an acoustic guitar. And he was playing Stained songs. And, dude, it was so awesome. It was one of the better concerts I've ever seen.
Yeah. He's really good. I mean, they really focus in on the sound. So you can't really knock him for that. Might be a bit of a diva like some other lead singers out there. But... but going back to Limp Bizkit real quick, the reason why like that Mission Impossible song was good and just a lot of the music was good, I totally forgot his name, but it's Wes Borland. He was the lead guitar player.
Dude, yes.
And that dude is sick. He ended up creating his own group, which I'll look up here real quick, but
I forget what they were called. I feel like I listen to
really
him.
Good stuff. A lot of interesting vibes and stuff, and the guy has a really distinct voice as well. I'll look that up real quick while you get to the comedians.
Yeah, I think Limp Bizkit was just a confusing time overall.
You could say that.
I mean, there were.
Yeah, I said you could say that.
Yeah, for sure. There were a lot of bands and musicians trying to find their place. I mean, look at Creed, for God's sakes.
I don't want to. Try to forget.
And Nickelback came from that. I mean, come on. Dude, remember when I got thrown out of a bar for screaming about how much I hate Nickelback?
Classic.
That was one of Dude, classic. Yeah, they were doing karaoke and some guy got up there to sing it and I was just booing my absolute dick off and they were like, okay, you're out of here, pal.
So West Portland's band's name is Blacklight Burns, American industrial rock band. Definitely check them out, pretty good. But yeah, one of my favorite Nickelback videos out there is them performing live in like Sao Paulo, Brazil, and they're at some rock festival. I think I showed you this video, and all the crowd started throwing rocks at them, and all of a sudden you see the rock, like the lead singer stops the music and is like, "Hey, you guys out there want to listen to some real rock and roll?" And all of a sudden you see this rock just hit him and his long hair just like flies up and he's like, "Okay, we're out of here. Fuck you guys. We're done." And they keep throwing rocks at him. And then the drummer stands up and just flips them off and they walk off stage. It's on YouTube. It's fantastic.
Oh,
makes me
fantastic.
Makes
I mean,
me
it's
laugh.
just like we brought it up earlier. It's just like the Smash Mouth with the bread thing. Was it bread?
Bread.
Wasn't it bread?
You want to fight me? Come on, bro. You want to fight me?
Dude, what a bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
Those people cannot win with me on Twitter either. And I love it. I love every second of it. I fucking body bag them every single time I get an opportunity to. And you know how I don't tend to go after people that much, but fuck those guys. Those guys end up being involved in my life far more than I want them to. We got sidetracked and tangented away from Kyle's blog again.
It's all good.
Talking
man.
about,
you know, we get to talk about music.
But the chocolate starfish will take you down that road. I'm telling you.
Sounds like
I'm telling you, dude. Dude, Vegas Kyle is still scared of those things I painted on his wall. Still scared of them.
That's such a great story.
Dude, I thought you were going to piss yourself laughing so hard when I told you that story about us painting with the glow-in-the-dark paint on his wall.
For listeners out there that didn't hear the story, I think it was episode 24. In the title, it contains college stories. Definitely check it out. We had a ball on that episode.
That was one of our most listened to episodes we've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah, dude. People, you start telling stories about scaring the living daylights out of your college roommate. Yeah, people are going to listen. And I'm pretty sure that we touched on my office that was inside my closet too, didn't we? That was awesome. But yeah, man, it's this Kyle blog about top stand-up comedians. All of these I agreed with, I think. We'll kind of break them down one by one. But did anything stand out to you right away?
Right away. I mean, I saw his little entry into it, but the first one he listed was Dave Chappelle. I mean, that's all I needed to see. I'm like, okay, this guy knows his comedians.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that for his favorite performance / tour performance was Killing Them Softly. I mean, that's just the right answer.
Absolutely. That was the one in San Francisco, right?
Yeah. That thing has me doubled over laughing all the time. Still, like to this day, I still think that show's equally as funny as it was when I watched it the first time. And I'm not a big stand-up guy, as you know.
I like it when he's talking about, like, he listens to the police scanner and all of a sudden hears, calling all cars, looking for a black male between the height of 4'7" and 7'5". He's like, oh, staying in the crib tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
So great.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, man, all of it is just classic. And honestly, he's just as funny as he used to be now. It's just a little bit different
because he's older, you know. But the one thing I forgot to tell Kyle about his post he should have included was on Netflix. You know, one of his Netflix specials that came out. The irony of Dave Chappelle walking away from the Chappelle Show. I think they were going to offer him like, what was it, like 10 million, 15 million, something like that.
Dude, it was stupid money. It was like the most
at the time,
most guaranteed money of all time.
So it was like 10 or 15 million. Well, with the Netflix stand-up specials that he did, the 3 that he did over the last couple years, basically in that contract, he made exactly that amount. So it's like he was able to laugh in the faces of those execs and be like, yeah, see, I walked away from it. Still worked out later on. But yeah, he's great. He's one of my favorites.
He walked away from a $55 million deal.
So he earned a total of $55 million with the Netflix specials and got an Emmy for it.
Dude, and good on him. They were hilarious. The only problem was I'd already seen him live and seen a lot of those bits already. Yeah. But that's not his fault. But is it my fault?
No, but you know that's how it is. They tour. They start to it might be a little bit different, but yeah.
I haven't found someone to blame yet. That's upsetting to me. I feel like we need to solve this. Whose fault is this?
Let's blame it on Claire.
No, I think this is Ben's fault.
Yeah.
Or it's an intern
Ben's
thing.
fault.
I don't know. One of the two. Yeah, we'll go with Ben.
So what about you? What about what jumped out on the list?
Dude, so going on down, Jerry Seinfeld was next.
Yep.
Strong agree. Dude, I actually have seen Jerry Seinfeld
Really?
live before.
How many times?
Dude, he twice. And the first time I saw him, it was at Fair Park in Dallas. So think about that. And I was literally in a seat that the back of it was up against the wall. So we're talking like in the back.
So that
Back,
Fair Park, Dallas, where the orchestra plays and all that stuff? Okay.
Correct, yes. And so I saw him there, and I was probably like 19, 20,
Wow.
something like that. And then I saw him again when I was probably 23 or 24, something like that. I don't even really remember where I saw him the second time, but I saw him a second time when I was about 23, 24. It was only a few years later. And I'm damn glad that I did. He did a tour back through here not that long ago. And I was looking at what tickets would cost. They were like $300 a pop for the very back, man. And like, couldn't really do it. I've seen him before, so I love Jerry, but to me, the longer that I've gotten to know like more about Larry David, it's so much observational humor that I look towards Larry, and Jerry has a better delivery for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They click really well that way. So I absolutely agreed with this. If you do ever get the chance, dude, you got to do it. It's absolutely incredible. You got to go see him.
And so, yeah, I saw he's coming back over to WinStar, but I don't know if I'm going to shell out $300 per ticket.
Well, we'll have to see what it looks like at WinStar. Dude, if it's reasonable, I'll do it. I'll absolutely drive up there with you.
Sounds good.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Richard Pryor was on here. That was a slam dunk, I thought. What do you think there?
He was hilarious.
Yeah. And then after that was Eddie Murphy. Dude. Eddie Murphy
raw,
genius.
man. That's classic.
Can we do a live watch of Bowfinger?
Yeah.
Dude, Bowfinger. We talk about Bowfinger a lot on this show, and I'm glad. I'm not afraid to back down from Bowfinger. That movie's a classic. The fact that Steve Martin has a fake ponytail the whole movie, and then all of a sudden just rips it off at one point whenever it's convenient for him, is unbelievable.
So great. But yeah, Eddie Murphy's one of those that, man, I wish he would come back to stand up so bad.
Yeah. I think that he just knows what his lane is.
Yeah.
And it's not that anymore. It's really not. Doing a bunch of Dr. Dolittle movies, as funny as those movies are, it's a weird thing for your acting career.
He did a real serious movie a couple of years ago. Let me check on that real quick. And it got a lot of good reviews. I might check it out sometime over the weekend. It was called Mr. Church. Yeah, it came out in 2016. Okay. And basically, it was just one of his real serious type roles. But I don't know. I just wish he would get out of acting, get back to stand up, to be honest.
Has he? Other than that, I don't know if he's been in anything that I can remember in the last. I know he does more like voiceover work now than anything else.
You had the Shrek movies and stuff, and did he voice the donkey? Okay.
Yeah.
I can never keep up with the animated films because you have like Chris Rock for this and Eddie Murphy for that, and yeah.
Dude, how can we get into voiceover work? That seems like an easy payday.
I have a friend who does that, and she moved up to New York and does like some sort of real big Star Wars animated cartoon or whatever. But yeah, that would be the dream job, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of what we're doing, except for, put our voices on a donkey or something. Dude, I hope we could get that kind of animation going here in the next 5 or so years.
If we can get it.
Could you imagine like a donkey sitting at a news desk with my voice giving the news? That'd be
Yeah.
fucking amazing.
What animal would Ben be?
Oh my god. Well, this gets tricky, just given that he's a vegetarian. I don't know. I think we should let Ben answer this question first, and then we can debate. I think we should do everybody. Let's do everybody as an animal. If we were going to put them on the screen as a green screen and do the shows, what would they be? We'll go through that. We'll bring that back next time. How about that? Yeah, I think that'll be good. We'll move on with the list a little bit. George Carlin was on here. I like George Carlin just fine. I'm not the biggest fan of his humor, but I get why he's on the list.
Too. I mean, it was, at the time, and he's just one of those important figureheads for stand-up comedy. So yeah.
Cat Williams is on here. I'm not the biggest Cat Williams guy.
Biggest Cat Williams guy, but I finally sat down and watched some of his stand-ups a few years ago because one of my friends is really into him. And I'm like, okay, I'll give this a chance. Had some beers, man. I was laughing my ass off.
Oh, I don't disparage him at all. I think he was brilliant and
a lot of. He's really good at physical humor. Yeah.
Yes, he led the way in that observational type space, but like with physical type traits to it. You know,
I gotta. I was gonna say.
go ahead.
I
ahead.
gotta say, I love how Kyle started off with, even though he's been beaten up by middle schoolers.
Dude, yes.
Yeah. Lest we not forget that.
Correct. Pretty incredible. I was just gonna say Chris Rock was next on that list. Nothing really needs to be said about that. Honestly, agreed. I mean that's a given. I wish he were still doing stand up and not voiceover work too.
Come back and do a tour like 5-10 years ago.
I'm not sure. Maybe
there was something where he was.
I didn't live
in Madison Square Garden or something on HBO, like 2010, 2012, something like that.
Gotcha. Well, that kind of leads into the next one, Robin Williams. That's not probably number one on my list. I didn't ever really watch as much of his stand-up comedy though. I watched like Mork and Mindy. I love that show. There's a lot of his work that I've enjoyed, and I've watched a little bit of his stand-up. Dude, Robin Williams live on Broadway is one of the funniest things out there.
That one's pretty good. Didn't he have one called like Weapon of Mass Destruction or something like that?
Yeah, that was the follow-up one. That one was after his like heart surgery and stuff. Okay. Not as funny as Live on Broadway. Because Live on Broadway was probably a year or two after 9/11. And man, he just goes to town on terrorists and all this. He just moves a mile a minute the entire time, and it's a whole two. It's so funny, dude. Even the jokes even today will land so hard because the way he uses metaphors and as animated as he is. I mean, he is just literally going nonstop action the entire thing. Yeah. 2 hours. It's crazy. You would think he did all the cocaine in the world.
He might have.
It may be, but it's wild. Next on the list was Louis C.K. I like Louis' show better than I like his stand-up, but I think that's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing because his both inform the other, right? So they're all kind of interchangeable.
Yeah.
There's a few of his stand-ups in the past that just cracked me up. I used to listen to him a lot on road trips. That's one of the best things to do ever is just listen to stand-up while you're on a road trip. But
it is.
It's definitely he's kind of fallen out of the graces, and for good reason, over the last several years.
He'll be back. The thing is, like, he was very open about all that, and all of a sudden everybody got offended. It's like, I mean, have you ever watched the show? Like, it's all of that stuff all the time.
Yeah. But, a lot of it was observational stuff. And, he tried coming back, did a small set, somewhere in New York, like a few months back. And then he started talking about, the kids that go to that high school that had the shooting and stuff, and said some like real insensitive stuff about that. And I'm like, okay, man, like now he's starting to get into Michael Richards territory, and you don't want to do that.
Oh, I don't know if it's that.
I'm not saying,
dude,
he's
I'm
there,
just
but
a
he's
pretty big.
stepping towards it.
So he actually did that set at the
Yeah.
Comedy Cellar, by the way, in New York. Yeah, but I just, as a general rule, it just things have become so soft. And man, like we've talked about this. We don't talk about politics at all, and we don't talk about those kinds of views or anything like that. But man, like I'm the first to stand up for injustices. I mean, I'll take people down on the train. You know, I'll do anything I need to make sure that people don't get run over and taken advantage of. Like I feel for people more than most, but also realize that it doesn't come off that way typically 99% of the time because, you know, I'm kind of a prick to deal with a lot. I get it. But at the same time, like, I just feel like we've become so soft about certain things. And it's like, he was very open about all this stuff. And he got caught up in a storm of like all that Me Too stuff. And I'm not invalidating any of that, but it felt like a little bit overblown.
Yeah, a little bit. But I don't know.
It's not like he Weinsteined anybody. Yeah. I mean, you know,
I don't know what he did, but anyways, yeah, he's. I would say, I don't know about top 10. I maybe put him top 15. I'd say he's more of an honorable mention.
Yeah, for sure. And the last one was Jim Gaffigan. I didn't have any problem with it. That guy's funny
he's
as
really
hell.
Funny. You know, and when it comes to like clean comedy, people out there that don't want to hear the F-bombs and stuff, I mean, that's where Jim comes in. You know, he's that everyday dad buffoon, and it's hilarious.
Dude, he's absolutely hysterical in his role on That 70s Show as Roy. Dude, he's like Hyde's boss at the hotel. And remember that whenever they were like going back and forth, and I think it was Hyde shot Kelso with the hose or whatever, and Roy was like, "Oh, do me," and he just like walks away from it and he just turns it on himself and does it real fast.
Yeah,
so funny, dude. So
yeah, the first stand up I saw him do was Beyond the Pale on Comedy Central, and yeah, I would definitely say that's the funniest one. He talks about hotel pools and hot tubs and that kind of stuff, and then just talks about like life with his kids, and I think that's the one where he talks about, you know, if Jesus was a carpenter, was he a good carpenter? Was he shitty? You know, it's just like a bunch of things. Yeah, it was really funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I remember that one. That's a good one. Yeah. Well, I like this list. He's going to keep doing them. He's got more of them coming. There's already one in the pipeline for Monday, so everybody needs to be on the lookout for that, sensiblyloud.com. All right, man. Well, I think we're going to get out of here. We want to remind everyone to follow us on social media. That's at Sensibly Loud on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Sensibly Loud Media on Facebook. Make sure to give us a call. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions about things we should talk about on the show. That's 972-885-9361. If you're watching us on YouTube, that's right there on the screen. Again, that's 972-885-9361. Give us a call. We want to hear what you have to say. We'll see you guys next week.